Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go over with you a report that came out in March 2023 about women incarcerated. And the number one woman that's behind bars in America is not the black woman, by the way. It's not. So, this is the Prison Policy Initiative. So, mass incarceration, we already know, has been going on forever now. Nothing has ever been done about it. And we know it mainly impacts Black men who are overrepresented in prisons around this country because we are the most targeted. And that's all by design, you know. As soon as chattel slavery was over, prisons went up all over America. So you know who the intended target was from day one. That's why they went from calling you a slave to calling you a criminal, all by design, had it all mapped out and planned out for it to be this way. So, how many women are actually being held in prisons, jails, and in other correctional facilities in the US? They really don't talk about this at all. You know, we hear very little about these numbers, but the report says 172,700 women and girls, juveniles, are incarcerated in America. That's because America makes so much money off of putting people behind bars. That's why they have never done anything. There's no reforms, there's no changes, there's no letting people go that are in there for minor offenses. And this report even goes over that. And it's not going to shock you. It's exactly as Black men and women have been saying on these videos for years and years and years, and we were told we were wrong. Most of the people that go to jail are committing violent crimes. Well, that's not according to this report. According to the report I'm looking at, says more than half of the incarceration are for non-violent and property crimes, not violent crimes. Actually, the violent crimes, that's relatively small. So that's how many women and girls are being held in jail. And of course, in some instances, especially among Black girls, it is an overrepresentation. But we can expect these things. Look at the country that America is. So, ladies and gentlemen, most notably and in stark contrast, the total incarceration population, where the state prison system holds twice as many people as are held in jails. More incarcerated women are held in jails than state prisons. Okay. Women's incarceration has grown twice the pace of men in this country, especially over the last few decades, and has disproportionately been located in local jails. The data needed to explain exactly what happens, when, and why do not yet exist, but not at least because the data on women has been long obscured by the large scale of men's incarceration. Yeah, well, the men is definitely more impactful because y'all grab the men more. You know, that's why certain cops are in the neighborhood just for that one purpose. They're not there for any other reason. And you also see a disproportion of people that never committed a crime end up behind bars. And once they get in the system, they could be stuck in there for several decades. They don't care. That's why, as long as it's impacting us, they don't feel no need to change anything. A staggering number of women who are incarcerated are not even convicted. So many, just like the men, many of these women haven't even gotten their day in court and they've already been in there for a long time. And they do that with the men, but they're always, what are they always saying? A speedy trial. They don't give you no speedy trial up in America. And they really need to stop lying to everybody about that. They don't give you no speedy trial. So, more than 60% of the women behind bars have not even been convicted of a crime, and they await a trial. And they're sitting in there for years, y'all. Years. And that's just more proof how broken the system really is. They can't even get to these folks in a timely manner. Okay, so aside from women under local authority, state and federal agencies also pay local jails to house an additional 8,875 women. For example, ICE and the US Marshal, which have fewer dedicated facilities for their detainees. So they contract with local jails to hold roughly 3,200 women. So the number of women physically held in jail is even higher than what they're telling you in the report. So, ladies and gentlemen, most of these women are there due to circumstances. And we'll get into what some of those circumstances are that lead them there. Yeah, there's drug offenses, there's property offenses, and the non-violent offenses. That's what the bulk of them are in there for. They're not in there for no hard murder and all that stuff and homicides. They're in there for minor stuff. Mm-mm-mm. So what does it mean, the large number of women being held in jail? For them and for their families, first, while stays in jails are generally shorter than in stays for prisons, jails can be especially deadly for women. Women have a higher rate of mortality in jails than men, dying of drug and alcohol intoxication at twice the rate of men. The number of deaths by suicides among women in jail increased by almost 65% between 2000 and 2004 and 2015 through 2019. Women are more likely than men to enter jail with a medical problem or a serious mental illness, which America does horrible with mental illness. They really do. They do horrible with it. While incarcerated, women are more likely to suffer from mental health problems and experience serious psychological distress just from being locked up. And of course, when you got mental issues and you're incarcerated, then those symptoms get far worse. Whether you're a man or a woman, it gets far worse because technically they don't belong in there. Okay, so they admit how a lot of these jails are poorly maintained. In fact, local jails tend to offer fewer service and programs overall than prisons do. And because most programs are designed for a larger male population, women may not even have access to programming that's available to men in the same jail. However, this is certainly not to say that prisons are always better, okay, at meeting the needs of women. Jails are also, they make it harder to stay in touch with family than prisons do. Jail phone calls are often at least 3 times expensive than prisons, and other forms of communications are more strict. Some jails do not even allow real letters, limiting mail and postcards from families and friends. In a lot of cases, the inmate never even know they got mail because they will destroy the mail, or they'll get a scanned copy of whatever letter or postcard they got, and sometimes they said they're so poorly scanned, they can't even read it. So, these barriers of communication are especially troubling given that 80% of women in jail are mothers and most often the primary caretaker of their children. And a lot of these women, the vast majority of them do have minor children that are behind bars. Now, let's get to some of the stats. Although the data do not exist to break down the whole pie by race or ethnicity, this is their findings based on data they were able to put together. White women are the biggest incarcerated women in America at 53%. Black women, 29%. Hispanic women, 14%. 2.5 for American Indian or Alaska Native women, 0.9% for Asian women, and 0.4% for Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander women. So that is how it's broken down. And it's also disproportionate among juvenile girls. So Black girls accounted for 35% of confined girls. Hispanic girls, 20%. White girls, 38%. And they're saying that, ladies and gentlemen, while society and the criminal system subject all girls to stricter codes of conduct than expected from male peers, Black girls shoulders most of the burden behind bars. Are we shocked? No, no, absolutely not. So they're also finding that, there's a big portion of these women that are mothers to minor children. And you know what? When I hear that, the reason why they would not arrest Carolyn Bryan, if you go back and look at some of the articles and things, it's because she had minor children. She had young children, so they didn't want to arrest her. But it's amazing how they don't hesitate to arrest other women that got minor children. They jump right up and arrest these women. They don't care. Okay. So they also found women are more likely than men to enter prison with at least a high school diploma or equivalent credential. Still, over 53% did not finish high school. Over a quarter of women, 26%, experienced homelessness in the year they were arrested. It's higher among men if they're homeless. Women are more likely to be jobless, 53% at the time of their arrest. Women are more likely to be written up for a prison violation than men. Okay, women report disabilities 50%, and physical and mental health problems are at higher rates for men. Over 58% of women met the criteria for substance abuse the year that they were incarcerated. And over three quarters, 76% had some indication of a past or present mental health problem. And America does horrible with that. And we've seen many people in our community that were having a mental health crisis, and the police shows up on the scene and just kills them. Do very poor with mental health. All right. So, treatment is disproportionate for women. They said male inmates are more likely to get some sort of treatment for mental health than female inmates. Women are more likely to be parents of minor children, 58%, at the time that they are incarcerated. 4% of the women that go behind bars are pregnant. More than two-thirds of those women had no health insurance at the time they were arrested. Yet only half received any type of prenatal care in prison. Additionally, another government survey shows that while incarcerated, women are 3 times as likely as men to be assaulted by prison staff, which I'm not surprised about. Mm-mm-mm. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have done something similar to this in the past, and it really came out the same way. It really did. Over, who is the most incarcerated in this country. And again, you never hear mainstream news talking about this because they are fully aware of which women are in there the most. But with the men, because men are so over policed in our community and disproportionate behind bars, they don't mind telling you that there are so many black men behind bars. But see, when this is how I feel when they give you those statistics, they're being very dishonest because they always exclude the high amount of exonerations. They always exclude the people in there that have not been charged with a crime, but they've already been in there for several years. They exclude a lot of people being in there and they got mental health problems and they really don't belong in there. They belong in a medical facility. So when you lump the numbers together, yeah, it looks a certain way, don't it? But when you break it down and tell the truth about things, yeah, it's a huge difference, and America will always keep piling up people in these prisons because prison is all about capitalism and making money. That's why they don't care who's guilty or who's innocent. It's all about making money. They got these people in there that's been exonerated. They've been in there for several decades doing all that prison work, and in many cases for free, or they're getting a few pennies an hour. But see, that's how they like it. That just goes to show you America still loves her slavery big time. But y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.